Story of Peyton Place. Starring Dorothy Malone as Constance Mackenzie, Ed Nelson as Michael Rossi, Mia Farrow as Allison Mackenzie, Ryan O'Neill as Rodney Harrington, Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson, Tim O'Connor as Elliot Carson, Christopher Connolly as Norman Harrington.
During the many weeks of preparation for Rodney Harrington's trial, Stephen Cord has worked diligently and earnestly in Rodney's behalf. Now, midway into the trial, Stephen has flown to California in pursuit of further information. Information that will help him defend Rodney. Information that will break down Stella Chernak's testimony. Facts about Stella that only a private detective could find out.
Sit down. Thank you. I wouldn't have had you make the trip, but we're getting close to the wire. Here's the Chernak file. I think we finally have something. There's a man I'm trying to locate. His name is Richard Jensen. No thanks. He was released from Chino last month. That's a minimum security institution. He's working somewhere in Bakersfield. He was arrested for stealing biochemical research material from the Westover Institute and selling it to a drug firm in the East.
I don't see any evidence that Stella Chernak was involved in this case.
Our Miss Chernak left a job at the Westover Institute in June of last year. Richard Jensen was arrested just a month before she quit. The tip-off that put him behind bars came from an anonymous caller, a woman. Pull out that next sheet there. And that's a breakdown of Stella Chernak's charge accounts at several of the local stores. She kept a relatively small balance on all of them up until March. And then she charged over $600 at that one department store. Almost all of it from the men's department.
And that was the month before Jensen was nailed.
Uh-huh. She also ordered one very expensive item, some luggage.
Now, this Jensen, is he a biochemist?
A shipping clerk.
Well, then he didn't have any direct access to the formulas he stole.
No, but Stella Chernak did.
Well, Mr. Harrington.
Chernak?
Mr. Harrington. Did you come all the way down here just to tell me how sorry you are about my father's death? I must say, you Harringtons have a perfect sense of etiquette. You know, Rodney was one of the first to offer his condolences after he killed Joey.
I don't think this is necessary, Miss Chernak. Naturally, I'm sorry about your father.
Naturally.
I know you've been through a great deal. Perhaps if you'd stop feeling sorry for yourself, you could start thinking more clearly.
Oh, I'm not feeling sorry for myself, Mr. Harrington. For a Chernak, I feel pretty lucky. I'm alive. And I don't drink, like Papa. And I don't fight, like Joey. So my chances of staying alive are pretty good. And I'm going to see that Rodney gets what's coming to him.
Afternoon, Mr. Harrington. Good afternoon. One hot cider. 2. There you are. Care for a cinnamon stick? 1.
Well, that looks wonderful.
Yeah.
You remembered.
I was sitting here thinking about the last time we came down here.
Well, now, if I remember correctly, whenever Leslie Harrington starts to talk about the past, it's because he's wrestling with something very much in the present.
You know me too well, Julie. Yes, I am wrestling with something. Has Betty said anything about Rodney lately?
No, not really. Why?
I didn't think so. Or I'm sure it would have been you who called me.
Well, Leslie, what is it?
Well, they seem to have found their way back to each other again. I stepped into Rodney's room at the inn this morning, and Betty had dropped by. I thought you'd want to know.
And you want me to give my apron strings a tug and get Betty out of your hair?
Julie.
Look, Les, I am just as unhappy about the prospects of their being together again as you are. But Betty is not a puppet. I cannot control everything that she does. Now, if you disapprove of Betty seeing Rod, I suggest you talk to him. You know, it seems to me I've heard this song before.
Now, wait a minute, Julie. I thought you might take this long, and I can understand why. I barged into their marriage like a bull in a china shop. Well, I don't intend to act that way again. I don't disapprove of Betty. She's one of the few people who stuck by Rod through all of this. I was just reminding you of what we both know. They're trouble for each other.
Well, I am glad you told me, Les, but so much has happened to Rod and Betty. I can't control her, and I doubt very much if you can control him.
Rod's incapable of thinking clearly right now. It's not only the trial. He's just broken off with Allison. Under the circumstances, I don't think either Betty or Rod can be sure of their feelings. I'd hate to see them hurt again.
There are a lot worse things than being hurt.
Like loneliness. I know what loneliness is, Julie. And you do, too.
I better go, Les.
If all I had on my mind was Betty and Rod, I could have told you on the phone. I had to see you.
You left this country. You didn't even bother to say goodbye. And then when you came back, well, you expected me to come running to you with open arms.
When I came back, I wanted to see you far too much to observe any kind of protocol.
Les, we sit here mapping out the rules we want our children to live by, talking about how they can't think objectively. And then all of a sudden we're on the verge of breaking all the rules ourselves.
It's strange that I asked to see you. Please sit down. I'm sorry I didn't come to see you sooner.
Oh, that's all right.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Why did you send for me?
I'm not really sure.
I'm not sure why I came. Is there, anything that you need or want?
Oh, no, thank you. Something happened.
What?
There were a lot of things that I'd forgotten after the accident. My mother... I'd forgotten that Elliot Carson was my father. Today, they made me remember a lot of things that I guess I wanted to forget.
Why are you telling me this?
I don't know. I needed to talk to somebody.
You're doing exactly what you did a year ago. The first time your mother told you the truth, you came to me. You stayed at my house all night. Do you remember that?
Betty, what was I like when they told me?
Oh, you were scared, angry. You were furious at your mother. Elliot Carson was dying, and you felt that she had robbed you of a father all those years. You said that if he did die, you'd never forgive your mother.
I wish he had died.
Are you trying to shock me?
I do. I wish he had died. I must have looked pretty silly crying over Elliot Carson.
You didn't look silly. You looked like a girl who was terrified for her father. Why do you hate him now? Is it because he's a reminder to the town that you're illegitimate? Well, they accepted that months ago. You're the only one who hasn't.
You make it sound so simple. Too simple.
It's all pride. Just false pride.
I can't find the answers anywhere. All I see are long tunnels leading nowhere. And walls, rooms full of blank walls.
Maybe you built those walls. You seem to think the whole world's against you. Well, I've got news for you. You didn't invent loneliness or unhappiness or problems.
You were gonna have a baby once. Rodney didn't want to have a baby, but he married you anyway. What if he hadn't? What if the baby hadn't died? How would you have treated it? Would you have lied to it?
I'm sorry for you, Allison. It's going to be a long, lonely road.
Betty, Rodney's trial, has it affected you?
What do you think? You have been so wrapped up in Cotton Batten, you haven't bothered to find out what Rod's been going through.
Tell me, please, I want to know. How were you involved in the trial?
I was on duty the night Joe Chernak died. Rod called the hospital for help, and I was the one who answered that call. I had to testify to that fact.
Had to?
Yes.
Couldn't have helped him very much.
It didn't. Rod said that you broke up with him for good. Is that true?
If he told you that, why bother asking me?
Then leave him alone, Allison. You'll draw him back to you and to all your problems, just like you tried to do with me today. It's like the old fable of the dog in the manger. You don't want him, but you won't let him go, and that's not fair. You asked me to come here because you wanted to talk. Talk about the past, how you felt and how I felt and what happened to us.
Yes.
All right, maybe you are trying to find yourself, but so am I, Allison.